Welcome back to Sunday Vibes, one and all. Joining me today, we've got Christopher Hamill and we've got Zachary Jalab. Zachary, how are you?
Very good, thank you, mate. It's been a very fun week. Good to be back. I hope everyone else is doing well.
Yeah, if you don't know by now, Zach did manage to travel to Porto to watch Chelsea win the Champions League and then went to the after party with the players. So Zach is pretty much living his best life right now. Hamster, are you living your best life?
Yes, mate. I was up at 5:30 this morning. Was on the early, kickoff on Sky Sports News and thoroughly enjoyed it. You know, I got to talk about Celtic on the television, which is always a great way to start the day. Although, you know, it was a bit doom and gloom because we're in absolute shambles at the moment. But I'm living vicariously through Zach. I'm still buzzing for him that he got out there. Look at the photos. Mate. We should do a montage right now of Zach just smiling from ear to ear while in Portugal.
Here's the question, though, Hamill. It's been on my lips all week. Can you pronounce your new manager's name at Celtic?
Ange Postecoglou.
Oh, he's been working on that.
Well done,
this guy
Not the new manager yet. Not the new manager yet, because we still have to get exemption, apparently, because he's not qualified to manage, I believe, in Europe. Yeah. But we'll see.
Oh, Lord. All right, let's crack on.
Beginning of a legend, mate.
We're going to be talking about international football today. Of course we are. The Euros is just, 6 days away now? Very exciting stuff. So Mohammed Amar has asked dark horses for the Euros. I'm looking forward to this one because I think we've got to talk about Italy first. Hamster, we're going to talk about Italy first. They feel like everybody's dark horse at the moment.
Yeah, let's go for it. Actually, for the first time in a few tournaments, I feel like it's easier to pick big teams that are going to fall by the wayside rather than surprise packages. So this is actually a quite a hard question. But yeah, Italy, I mean, seems like the obvious place to start. Got a favourable draw, didn't they, in their group? Turkey, Switzerland and Wales. And what a job Mancini has done since coming in circa 2018. I mean, lest we forget that Italy didn't actually qualify for the 2018 World Cup. And that was the first time they failed to do so since 1958. So it was a historic failure. Everyone was up in arms in Italy. They wanted their Das Reboot moment, didn't they? And they got it in the form of the former Inter Milan and Manchester City manager. I mean, they dropped as low as 21st in the rankings at one point. But now on a 28-game unbeaten streak under the Silver Fox. I mean, just take a look at his Instagram. He's the drippiest manager at that tournament by a distance. He's got the cleanest fit on him, the chinos as well. Perfect amount of material around the ankle and sit perfectly just below the shin. What a guy. And the young guys in Italy, in the Italy squad, probably think the same as well, don't they? Because unlike past managers, he has actually placed his trust in young players. I think Zaniolo was called up to the squad before he even made his Serie A debut for Roma. You know, such was the sort of bullish nature in which he picked these young guys. And, you know, not all of them have made it to the Euros, but he's still called upon the likes of, you know, Moise Kean, Chiesa, Mancini, Bastoni, Barello throughout the qualification process, which was pretty flawless, by the way, and the recent World Cup qualifiers. But I wanted to talk about Barella mainly because the guy's an absolute
machine
baller. But what do you guys think of their chances before we maybe crack on with the Inter Milan box-to-box maestro?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they're pretty decent candidates for dark horses, I would say. I think it's a bit of a shame Zaniolo's not gone to the Euros, it has to be said, and the squad isn't quite as young as maybe we thought it would be. But nevertheless, it is pretty exciting to watch Italy return to some form of past glory. And let's have it right, this is very different, this Italian side, to the Italian sides that have done well at past tournaments. It's not this sort of defensive, like, behemoth. It's going to be playing slightly more fluid football, and I'm looking forward to it. That 4-3-3 that Mancini's got rolling is pretty exciting when you look at that front line, and it's Chiesa, and it's Insigne, and it's Immobile. I think that excites pretty much everyone, doesn't it? And like you said, Barella in midfield, Jorginho in midfield. If Jorginho plays that sort of deepest line midfield role like we expect him to, like he did so well at Chelsea, I think he's been pretty exceptional, Jorginho. Just to touch on him under Tuchel since he came in, because I think a lot of people were talking about whether or not he would be all action enough for a Thomas Tuchel midfielder. But what he does for Tuchel is he's just the constant outlet. Whenever one of those centre-backs needs a ball played into the midfield or are under pressure, you can guarantee Jorginho is going to be willing to take the ball under pressure, play a simple pass, maybe a little turn, and then distribute the ball to an N'Golo Kante or Mason Mount, who are going to be able to progress it up the field. So I think Jorginho is going to have a massive role to play for Italy at this Euros. I do still slightly worry about Bonucci. I think he's probably going to be heavily relied upon in that centre-back berth, and yeah, he's getting no younger, is he? He's going to have to be a big tournament, maybe one of his final tournaments, but I'm pretty bullish about his Italy team. I think they do very well, and I think the group is very favourable for them as well.
I'm really excited to see Locatelli play as well. He's been obviously one of the standout performers in Serie A this season, and I think that he should be their focal point. Whether or not that happens, given the depth in that central midfield position, is another question, and one that I'm probably not very qualified to answer. Didn't watch an awful lot of Sassuolo last season, but still love his underlying numbers. Did watch a little bit of Barella though, and he is on the cusp of superstardom now, isn't he? He's transitioned from that fiery defensive midfielder at Cagliari to a really well-rounded box-to-box midfielder at Inter Milan. And I mean, in his 19-20, he registered 5 league goal involvements, improved on that in 2021 with 10. Still, the bookings are coming thick and fast. He loves taking people
He'll get sent off. He'll get sent off during this tournament for sure.
The Italian Scott Brown. What a compliment that is for the young man as well. But yeah, an excellent ball carrier. And a really economic dribbler as well. I think completes over 70% of his dribbles, which is always the hallmark of someone who's very comfortable on the ball. And doesn't shirk his defensive duties either. So I'm excited to see him play. I don't know if there was anyone else, Zach, that we missed out that you wanted to put a shining light on. I know we were taking a little look at the team that set up against Lithuania, weren't we, before we started shooting this, in the last of their World Cup qualifying games.
Yeah, I mean, a few of the players that probably started that aren't actually going to start in the tournament. I doubt maybe Emerson will be starting. El Shaarawy, probably not. But Immobile continues to do it season on season on season. And no matter how older he's getting, whether he's losing his pace or such, he still continues to score, and that's a fantastic output that Italy have up front, and he could have a really good tournament, which they do need. I don't know. I find Italy interesting. I actually kind of think every one of the teams in that group, obviously Italy, Turkey, Switzerland, and Wales, all have the chance of kind of being a dark horse. They all could surprise you. Obviously, Italy are kind of the biggest name out of them, and obviously having not made it to the 2018 World Cup, a bit more is probably expected than obviously not having qualified and the previous tournament not playing too well either. But I think out of the biggest names that are on this list, probably Italy at the top. Whether they do well though is to be seen.
Yeah, I do think that fullback position is a bit of a concern for Italy as well, because I don't necessarily agree. I think Emerson probably does start at left back for the Italians, and I think probably Florenzi starts in the right back berth, and I think both of them have had fairly underwhelming seasons. Ederson in particular just doesn't really get a sniff for Chelsea, does he? Is he even still at Chelsea? Where is he now?
He is at Chelsea. He was one of the boys that won the Champions League.
Yeah, I just forgot because he just gets no minutes. I was wondering if he'd been sent out.
Well, this is what I mean. It's like I think under Tuchel, I'm pretty sure he's probably featured for about 25 minutes, and part of that was scoring a goal against Atletico Madrid.
Like, true. I forgot.
That's my one worry. I feel it'd be very, very odd to start a player who has literally played 25 minutes in the past 6 months. Like it's a bit risky in my opinion. Like
the fullback options aren't very strong though. Fullback options aren't very strong. I mean, there's every chance he goes for a back four of Emerson, Chiellini, Bonucci, Florenzi, and even for Florenzi, just so unconvincing.
Yeah, it wasn't great against City.
Struggled consistently this season through injuries and lots of other different factors, mainly due to the fact he's so old. But yeah, I think the backline is a slight concern. However, its experience might pay off in sort of one-game shootouts. You never know. I think going forward is a lot more exciting for Italy though with those young players.
Could be a a huge tournament for Donnarumma as well, right? He's not signed this new contract at AC Milan. If he has a great tournament, then every club in the world, I mean, he's probably got a few clubs already talking to him, but every club in the world might be trying to get his signature.
Yeah, what's promising for Italy is that they have the weaponry, don't they, to guard that fairly old, fairly slow central defensive partnership, which maybe they've not had in tournaments gone by. Plenty of legs in that midfield. I've already discussed Locatelli. There's Pellegrini, Barella. I don't know if Pessina has made the final squad. But let's move on to another team, because I'm backing Turkey to fulfill the requirements of this question. You were a little bit, in between, weren't you, Joseph? Not fully convinced, owing to their recent results. But where do we sit? Where do we sit on them? And give me some context.
I do like this Turkish side. I do think they've got some very strong individuals, and I think had the Euros happened last year when they came off the back of that qualifying campaign like you were talking about in 2019, then I think I would probably agree with you. But I don't know how to pronounce the manager's name. I'm going with Gunes, okay? I'm going to stick with that. I think he's fiddling with the side a little bit too much recently. 2 wins in 8 in that sort of September to November period is concerning for me. The draw against Guinea was concerning for me. I do think they're going to be okay. Don't get me wrong. I think they'll get out of the groups, but I'm not sure they'll have as big an impact as they would have had if this had happened in 2020. I think Soyuncu has had a good season, but not the season he had in 2019-20. I think Demiral okay. Kabak, I think towards the back end of the season, struggled a little bit at Liverpool. He kind of found his feet, and they've obviously chosen not to make that move permanent. But they have got a much more informed Burak Yilmaz up top. They've got Çalhanoğlu, who's going to create chances for fun from set plays. And that sort of double pivot of Tufan Yokuşlu, I think is going to be okay. So they're going to be fine, but maybe not quite have the impact I thought they would have last summer.
I reckon their games are going to be low scoring. Very low scoring, like 1-0, maybe 1-0, 1-1. Because defensively, I think they're actually a really good side. Zerki Çelik obviously won league with Lille, who were a very kind of defensive side, and he was kind of doing that attack for them down the right. But as you mentioned, their centre backs with Soyuncu and the keeper's also highly rated as well. So I think defensively they'll be okay. And I know that Hakan Çalhanoğlu's had a very good season in Serie A. Obviously, AC Milan have been really good as well this year. And Yilmaz himself has also won league and has been fantastic. But coming up against, actually, I guess it's the group they're in. They can qualify, but I do worry. Like if they qualify, I can see them qualifying out of the group but not getting much further, because I don't really see them being able to. If they come up against a half decent side, like I'm not too sure who they come up against, depending on what the groups work out as. But say they could come up against a Germany, an England, a Spain, or something. Like I don't see them scoring enough goals to try, or having enough attacking output in their squad to try and cause them any problems. Like, don't get me wrong, Yilmaz has had a brilliant season, but I just don't see him bringing that to the international stage at the Euros. Might bite me that, but yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
If they can top their group, which is unlikely, then they would face the second place of Group C, which would be either Netherlands, Ukraine, or Austria, unless Macedonia suddenly do some absolutely bizarre madness. And if they don't top Group A, then they will face the second place of Group B, which is Denmark, Finland, Belgium, or Russia. So they're not in the worst run.
You know what? It's actually not the worst
route. I can see them getting to a quarter final, which would be an incredible achievement for them, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just come in and fill in the gaps then, because you guys have spoke about sort of personnel. You touched upon Gunes, Joe, who's come back in, and he was first at the helm between 2000 and 2004. Of course, secured that historic third place finish at the 2002 World Cup. And when I look back at that World Cup, I think of Rekbar Rustu and his war paint under his eyes and the virtuoso performances that he put in goal. So very fond memories of that side. So set quite the bar for himself, but led them through qualification admirably. Only finished 2 points behind France in a strong qualification group. And yeah, Zach, I think, and Joe, like you both said, they have one of the outstanding creators in Europe in Çalhanoğlu, who created over 100 key passes in Serie A, which I believe was a high. And yeah, I want to put a little bit of shine on Selic as well. I think you're right to highlight him, Zach. His stock could go through the roof if he has a solid tournament. Rumour has it that Lille are willing to entertain offers of 15 million euros for their right back. But, should he have a stellar tournament, we could quite easily see that price go up. And quality right backs are in short supply across Europe at the moment. Not the most attacking player, but great at progressing the ball. I think made around 13 entries into the opposition penalty area, which wasn't bettered by anyone at the side, in his side, sorry. So very good at probing and prodding and unsettling opposition defences and breaking into their third. And yeah, Kakir, the goalkeeper, I think it's probably Çakir. Again, I'm not the best with Turkish names. I actually do like it when people correct us in the comments because, you know what, we learn something from it. So please feel free to put me in my place there. But yeah, he's just taken Gunok's place. Only broke onto the scene recently. Did make an error against the Netherlands. So it'll be interesting to see if he retains the number 1 shirt or if that battle continues because I think like you intimated at the start of your answer, Joe, they have been a little bit unsettled. They have tried a few different formations, and I think that is probably part of the problem. But yeah, Yilmaz, Çalhanoğlu, they have all the ingredients for an upset. Let's hope it comes to fruition. I actually picked the last ones, Ukraine. Are you boys on side with that or what?
I don't think Ukraine get out of their group. I think Netherlands top that group fairly comfortably. And I don't know whether we want to talk about Netherlands as being a dark horse because they've
Absolutely
got De Boer
not.
because they've got De Boer in charge. I agree. I don't think we should. But, you know, just watching Austria last night, they were extremely well drilled against England, I thought. David Alaba sort of playing that free role that he did on the left wing, on the right wing, almost as an attacking mid at times. I think with him and Sabitz as combinations, that Austria could put a dent in a team like Ukraine. I think this will be a tough group to get out of.
What are you thinking, Zach? Your old boy Shevchenko in charge, ex-Chelsea legend, you know, model, fashionista, politician, golfer. Couldn't score for Chelsea, but still.
Now national team manager. Yeah, look, I mean, he's as you said, he's not necessarily had his much experience in management, and it'll be interesting to see what they do. I don't know whether they'll be getting out the group. Who knows? I guess this is dark horses, so that is the point of making. There's one player who's from Atalanta, their midfielder, is kind of their creative hub of the side, Ruslan Malinovsky. Averages 2.7 key passes across the last 3 World Cup qualifiers, which is actually really impressive. And he's comfortable playing kind of anywhere in the midfield, whether that's in front of the defence or behind the striker, can give them another goal-scoring option. And, you know, we should mention his stats, 20 goals and assists and 22 starts for Atalanta this year. It's not too bad, especially after them losing Papu Gomez. So he's kind of maybe one player that they could look out for. But, yeah, definitely not topping it. Who knows? Maybe a surprise package to get second place and obviously face get to the next round. But I don't see them doing that either. Like a third place for me for this group.
I think it was really impressive the way that they pipped Portugal to the post in their qualification spot. I don't think a lot of people saw that coming. I think they only conceded 4 goals as well in qualification, winning 6 and drawing 2. So a lot more commanding than people maybe would have gave them credit for or predicted even. And I do like, you know, some of their players. Yaremchuk plays for Ghent. He's a big sort of commanding but mobile centre-half, offers them a great reference point. But like I said, has a little bit of pace, has a rasping long shot on him as well, and has continued to perform really well in the Jupiler Pro League despite Ghent's sort of middling league form. I think he will probably, you know, if he gets a couple goals here, he's not had a down season actually. I think he's definitely in double digits for them. I think approaching 20 goals last time I checked in on him actually. But if he has a good tournament, he could definitely engineer himself and move. Who else is yet to return? Obviously Zinchenko. Matvienko, I think at the back is very highly thought of. He's a Shakhtar Donetsk player. I think he's converted from a left back to a centre back. And I think Arsenal and Manchester City were sniffing around him at one point. So there's definitely some talent in that squad, some talent that will probably mine a little bit better as the tournament goes on. I mean, is there any other shouts that you think we've missed?
In terms of dark horses?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Now, you see, for dark horses, I think it depends which level we're talking. If we're talking a potential dark horse winner, like, I think Spain have been massively underplayed in terms of people talking about them, especially with the inclusion of Aymeric Laporte. I think Aymeric Laporte is a big old swing for Spain. And I haven't heard a single person mention them as a potential winner. They're 7-1 with the bookies, which feels so long. And I think they've got a pretty exciting side, to be honest with you. There's a nice mix of experience and youth in there. You know, Azpilicueta coming back into the Euro 2020 squad. That's absolutely deserved. He's been sensational under Thomas Tuchel. There's a bit of competition in that left-back spot between Jose Gaya and Jordi Alba. You've got Pedri coming into the side, who looks to be one of the best young midfielders in world football, and potential, future superstar. Ferran Torres, whenever he puts on the Spain squad, looks exceptional, and when he has played for Manchester City, can't stop scoring goals. Rodri seems to have really stepped his game up this season for Manchester City in that midfield. Oyarzábal still scoring goals, and of course they've got the likes of Gerard Moreno. That probably not even going to start for him. Cannot stop scoring for Villarreal. Scored in the Europa League final. I think Spain have got a very solid setup, and their route is also not too bad because, of course, being in their group, and if they win it, they would play one of the best third-place sides, which is always where you want to be. So I think Spain could be sly dogs here, to be honest with you.
I agree, especially in terms of winners. The one concern I have is their experience in terms on the international stage up front isn't massive. Like, I remember there was a lot of talk about them not taking Iago Aspas, who himself was like the only, who was kind of like the only experienced Spanish striker, and that's the kind of thing that I think with international tournaments that I think from a fan's point of view we don't really understand too much. That having done that, having been on that kind of tournament based football before with your country before, can be really good to have people there that have been there and done that. Like, it's like the England team, right? Even if, say, Kieran Trippier doesn't play, him being there is probably really good for what happened in 2018. And so that's my only slight concern.
Potentially, but they have got, like Ferran Torres up top, we know has had, when he's played for Manchester City, been extremely
and Moreno as well.
Let's not forget as well, Torres scored a hat-trick against Germany like a few months ago, didn't he? And was absolutely exceptional. I also think that Spain have probably got one of the best coaches at the tournament in Luis Enrique, in terms of calibre. So, yeah, I think Spain could be an outside shout to win the tournament. I don't think they will, but at 7-1, I think that's a very good bet.
They have struggled for goals, haven't they? The lack of world-class number 9 does concern me. Of course, Morata has been drafted in recently to lead the line, and he's done a decent job. Dani Olmo supporting him to a solid capacity, particularly in World Cup qualifiers. So they've got solutions. Spain have had solutions for a long time, haven't they?
Yeah, they have.
When they haven't got a leading marksman on the pitch.
They did score 31 in qualifying, though. They did score 31 goals.
Yeah, I think they had a fairly weak group, didn't they? But, aside from that, what you were talking about, Zach, Luis Enrique obviously doesn't buy into that premise that you necessarily need tournament experience. I think Spain are trying to turn over their...
Didn't take Sergio Ramos, did
Yeah,
they?
exactly.
The guy.
Only took 24. Could have taken 26. Rejected the opportunity to take Sergio Ramos. So I think they're trying to... This is a long-term project, and this is maybe like stage 1, stage 2 of that. And I don't think they're anticipating great results, but if they can get people like Garcia, I know that Porro's been dropped from the squad, Jose Gaya, if they can get other up-and-coming players, valuable tournament experience, I think that bodes well for the future. But yeah, I'm expecting them to perform to like quarter-final, maybe even semi-final level, but ultimately, they're not in my top 3.
Which wouldn't be bad after what happened in the last tournament for them. It's quite a decent come up. Go on, Amel, talk to us about Scotland, because I actually personally, I think they are a dark horse. I think they're going to be quite exciting to watch.
I think they're underestimated. Obviously, I said on, I don't know if it was a podcast we did. We're doing a lot of content at the moment, aren't we? That they beat the Czech Republic 3 times in recent year, and that puts them in good stead. I think they take them on match week 1, although on one occasion it was a severely depleted Czech Republic squad, so maybe not the best representation of them. but they're growing. Yesterday's fixture against the Netherlands was the first time that Steve Clarke's actually got to take Scotland in a friendly. Every game that guy had managed up until that point was pretty much a crunch tie. So he's not had a lot of time for experimentation and has had to do it on the job, and has done it very well, in fact. I mean, when you put a back three together that is comprised of McTominay as a right centre-back, Kieran Tierney's a left centre-back, and Grant Hanley, who's only just been promoted with Norwich, and it works at international level, I think you deserve a certain amount of kudos. And yeah, they went toe-to-toe with the Netherlands yesterday. They're kind of approaching dire straits again under De Boer. I think he's only won 4 of his first 10 now, which is a stark comparison to where Koeman left them. Ugh. So I'm not sure about, if that's a barometer for Scotland overachieving. But yeah, I can see them potentially finishing second. I think Croatia have aged. They've not turned over the squad as well as other nations that we've spoke about. I think I've read some comments recently which make me think the manager's a little bit of a Fruit Loop. I remember he was telling some Croatian outlet that after the World Cup that he was the second best manager in the world. The rest of the comments lead me to believe it wasn't tongue-in-cheek. Which is definitely not how it works, is it? Being a finalist does not make you the second best manager in the world, and they've fared really poorly since. That statement has aged like milk. But yeah, I think I like the amount of domestic stars he's got in his squad. I like how much he's entrusted them. Like Nisbet, Lyndon Dykes has only just moved to the Championship. He had a really good season, finish to the season in the Championship with QPR. Che Adams, of course, has kind of just been drafted in exclusively for the Euros, but don't mind that either. So let's see if they've got a guy that can, put up 2 or 3 goals. I think there's every chance that they'll upset. They could upset this group because the rest of the team pretty well stocked, and I think the likes of John McGinn and Callum McGregor add a bit of class in there as well.
I think they definitely stand a good chance of being one of the best third place sides.
Yeah, because 4 third place teams go through, right? The best 4 third place sides, yeah.
So I think they definitely stand a shot there, and it's not inconceivable they take points off of Czech Republic and Croatia. I really hope England give them a smacking though. I'm not gonna lie. I really hope England turn them over.
Yeah, well,
last time we played, Jesus.
I mean, so do I. I am an England fan, but. So I am more objective about Scotland than I am about Celtic. I've just been genuinely impressed with the way that they've improved. And, Steve Clarke had a rocky start, but finished third in a group that had, Russia and Belgium in, so to be expected, and then had to beat Serbia in the final, who were overwhelming favourites in that playoff final, weren't they? So they got through the back door, but, love it.
All right, so let's agree kind of Italy is our potential dark horses to go the furthest. Maybe Turkey one to keep an eye on as a real surprise package then, as those two.
Yeah, and you two just dismissing Ukraine, are you?
Yeah,
I'm dismissing Ukraine.
To be fair, Zinchenko could have a world in the tournament. Yarmolenko, a couple of 30-yarders, we'll see.
It would not surprise me if Ukraine and Austria went through and the Netherlands just absolutely bottled it.
De Boer, man, under De Boer, I agree, it could happen.
Despite Memphis Depay being just scintillating every time he puts a Netherlands shirt on, and they've got a really good young squad as well.
I feel like there's too many good players in that Netherlands squad to not go through.
No, the absolute mate with De Boer in charge, anything's possible.
Yeah.
He told the press the other week that Donny van der Beek had played 4,000 minutes for Manchester United this season, and everyone was like, "No,
every game,
right, 400. You're missing. You've added a 0 on there. It's 400.
Yeah. I think that was justification as a means of picking him, but yeah. So their preparation could have been better. Maybe we're overblowing how poor De Boer has been, but a lot of Netherlands fans that I've sort of confronted about the issue on Twitter don't have much faith at all. But all the games are in Amsterdam, aren't they? So maybe they will sneak through.
Yeah. All right. Let's do some quick fire questions then. This one from Meg Liverpool FC says, "Who will replace Trent in the 26-man squad if his injury doesn't allow him to go?" Obviously, pulled up last night with that thigh injury against Austria. Seemed to mouth. So then he's saying it's gone, which is never a good sign. It's just never a good sign when you're being carried down the tunnel, to be honest with you. So I don't think Trent's now going to go to the Euros. Seems obvious to me, this replacement. It has to be James Ward-Prowse. I just don't see who else gets called up if not James Ward-Prowse. I don't think he's going to take another attacker. If Lingard or Watkins was going to go, then Bukayo Saka wouldn't have got the call. So I think James Ward-Prowse is just the most obvious selection possible.
I said this on Sky Sports News this morning, and I think it was Rob Jones, Sky Sports reporter, poo-pooed the idea of JWP. He wanted Jesse Lingard, but I'm very much team JWP as well, especially given I still don't know how fit Calvin Phillips is or how fit Jordan Henderson is. Like if he was deemed not fit enough to play against Austria, that is still worrying to me, like a week and a half out from the tournament. So yeah, another central midfielder I think makes perfect sense. What about you, Jello?
Yeah, I completely agree. Especially because that's kind of the position that possibly Trent might have played if needed as well. Right-sided, yeah, exactly. Right-sided centre mid. So I kind of agree, James Ward-Prowse. But yeah, tactically that would make sense. But then I also wouldn't be surprised if it was Jesse Lingard.
Yeah, well, also you got to think as well, just watching that friendly last night, is that Trent took the majority of our set plays, took corners, and if we're looking for a set place replacement, then we're obviously going to call up James Ward-Prowse as the set piece specialist. So even though I didn't think he should make the 26, if Trent's going to be injured, I think it's the most obvious go-to player to replace him. I think it has to be James Ward-Prowse. The next one was sent in by Jakob Currylow, who says, Conte to Spurs looks almost done. Mastermind stroke by Levy or implosion waiting to happen. This is a mastermind stroke. There's no negative here.
Only if he's willing to buy. That's the only thing. I can only see Conte agreeing to come if he's willing to spend money this summer. If he's willing to do that and kind of get the players that Conte wants, and I think it is unbelievable. It'll be brilliant. And that way, 100%, I think Harry Kane will stay, at least for another season anyway, and play under Conte. I think they need to buy a few players at least. A centre-back or two possibly.
I still think he'll want to leave though, Kane. I don't think Conte changes his mind at all.
I don't know. I think Conte's a big manager to get in. After what they've been through, I think bringing in Antonio Conte after he just won the league in Italy, he's seen how good he was at Chelsea. If he can get those players in, right? That's what Kane supposedly spoke about. If they can get the players in to try and improve the team, then I think he'll be willing to give it at least one more year. Like he's said that he wants to go on for another 5, 6, 7 years anyway. So maybe he won't be in too much of a rush if they get Conte.
I just think that I agree Conte is in my top 5 managers in world football. He's obviously won 5 league titles in his last 7 years in management. It's absolutely ridiculous. So I think he's amongst the best managers in the world. Definitely the best manager they possibly could have appointed. But if you're Harry Kane, I think you still look at it and go, we're not going to win a league title under Antonio Conte. Like they're not going to win. They're not going to win the league under Antonio Conte, despite how much he might improve them. And yes, he might win the League Cup or he might win the FA Cup. By moving to Manchester City, he's competing for Champions Leagues and Premier Leagues. I think under Antonio Conte, I'm sure he'll see development, but he was probably told the same thing by Daniel Levy when he appointed Jose Mourinho, that we're appointing a serial winner who guarantees silverware at every single club. I think he's probably had enough of that now, and it's just time for him to move on to a club that's genuinely competing for world titles like Manchester City. I think Conte is a brilliant appointment. If they get Paratici in as well, then it might be a match made in heaven, reforming those Juventus days. And I think the squad's pretty well set up to play that 3 at the back system Conte likes. I think Reguilon will be a better wing back, and I think Matt Doherty might get minutes now that Serge Aurier has announced he's leaving. So I think it's a great appointment, but Kane still wants to leave.
I disagree slightly in that Kane will see this as just another sort of Jose Mourinho scenario, because they are getting a manager in their pomp, aren't they, if they land him. Jose Mourinho's stock was not plummeting, but it was definitely down, and he was, again, not seen as a spent force, but one that was very much trying to clamber back to the top. Whereas this is a guy who is still very much seen as cutting edge. So I think it might make Kane think twice. It would also suggest, like, Daniel Levy is an extremely smart guy. Like, he knows what sort of man Conte is. This probably means that Levy is the one who is willing to yield in this scenario. He needs to win back and curry favour with the fans again, doesn't he? So what better way to do that than to sanction a big spend under a big name new manager? And, you know, hopefully the return of fans to stadiums, etc., will soften or make that possible. I was going to say soften the blow financially for them, but what do I care about Spurs' finances? Absolutely nothing. But it'd be great to get a manager. This is more shocking to me than Ancelotti going to Everton, to be perfectly frank. So the fact that
Yeah.
Ancelotti could leave and the average quality of manager in the Premier League increases is startling. And yes, Spurs weren't in any danger, under Jose of breaking into that top four. But again, it gives us an interesting summer of what ifs, and I for one can't wait. Yeah, if it does happen.
He's undoubtedly the best manager on the market. Like,
Though
undoubtedly.
him and Levy, that relationship will be interesting. Jesus Christ.
Levy will know that he has to manage this guy though, because it's happened time and time again. It even happened like Barry when he was an unproven manager, right?
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
if you don't give me the players I want, I am leaving. So I do think people have maybe because of Jose's constant jibes and prods, right? They underestimate the actual ability that's in this Spurs squad.
I think it's all right.
No, yeah,
It's very good, and if they can. If they don't keep Kane, then and they put all that money back in, then it will still be a very good squad if they spend it smartly. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, there's no way as well that Conte is joining Spurs without absolute assurances that Harry Kane stays.
Sure.
So like that is the one thing that pulls me back to thinking that Kane might stay, even though I think that Conte probably doesn't change too much in his mind.
No, but unless he says you can have the 120 million that we get from the Harry Kane sale to reinvest as you want.
Yeah, but you can't replace Kane.
But he's a pragmatic bloke, isn't he? Like, he's pretty cutthroat as well. Like, I don't think he's one that... I think he'd back himself to do a job, Kane or no Kane.
Oh, it's an interesting one. It's an interesting debate. Nevertheless, it is an insane appointment for Tottenham. It's like
class.
To one of the best managers in world football. It's just incredible. All right, let's do a personal question then to wrap this show up. This was sent in by John. His handle.
No, say his handle.
Sexy Phil Hay 2.
Jesus
Shout out Phil.
Christ.
He says, if you had to let one Premier League manager date your mum, who would you pick?
I thought that Zach would enjoy this question. Not because his mum's available on the market. I'll have you know that she's taken.
She's definitely not. Yeah, she's not. She is taken. I don't know. Probably, I don't know, one of the nice guys. Thomas Tuchel. Ollie.
I knew you'd say Thomas Tuchel.
They're just nice guys, aren't they? You want the best for your mum.
Yeah,
He's so classy.
Yeah, Thomas Tuchel's not a bad shout.
I think Tommy Tickle.
But I can imagine him coming into the house, in a stepfather sort of scenario, and like all of a sudden you're having sort of squid for dinner, and he's got vinyls on, and the furniture starts to become quite like minimalistic and Scandinavian. And you're like, what is going on here? Oh, where's my turkey dinosaurs gone, Thomas? And he's like, no, today we're trying eel.
Oh God, yeah, that would be awful.
Mate, I'd go for, what, maybe Chris Wilder, not a Premier League manager anymore, but always struck me as someone that was very handy around the house. And willing to pick you up in his van at some point. Like I'm out.
If you called after a night out at like 3 a.m. in the morning, while Chris is picking you up, he'll be annoyed.
Exactly.
He'll pick you up.
Chris, I'm pissed. I'm out my head. I'm outside. I'm outside the Fox and Tiger. I've just thrown up. He'd be like, "Say no more. I'm coming for you." I wouldn't tell your mum as well the morning after. Be like,
Yeah.
We'll keep this between you and me.
That's a decent shout. I probably would have said Carlo Ancelotti pre the Real Madrid move. I think he's just one of the nicest blokes in football, isn't it?
He loves you as well, doesn't he? Carlo loves you.
He would just be a gentleman to your mum, wouldn't he, Carlo Ancelotti? You could guarantee it, absolutely.
Sure.
And I'm sure that whenever you said something questionable in the room and he raised that eyebrow, you'd be like, yeah, that was worth it just for the eyebrow raise itself. So I would say Carlo Ancelotti, I think, but it's one of the weirder questions we've had from one of the weirder handles in Sexy Phil Hay too. Is there anything else we want to discuss before we wrap the show up? Is there any other questions we've got or anything like that?
No, just happy to plug some of the excellent work that the guys have been doing and gals across all of our channels, whether that be Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, etc. Some of the explains have been absolutely popping recently. The one on the UEFA Conference League is well over 250k now. So if you've not watched that, are you a real loyal FD subscriber? Probably not.
Yeah, and we want to get that Ruben Dias one popping just ahead of the Euros, so when he lifts the trophy with Portugal, he's all over the place.
We can re-thumb that bad boy. Not Ruben Dias. That's a bit graphic, isn't it? I meant the thumbnail.
All right, Jalab, anything you want to plug?
Head over to Snapchat. You can see our faces talk about football. Even more football for you.
Okay, right, my bad. I didn't realise that was the end of the sentence there. But yeah, that's the end of Sunday Vibes for yet another week. If you did enjoy it, hit the like button, submit your questions over on Twitter. Usually Christopher Hamill puts out the tweet during the week on either Tuesday or the Wednesday, so go and follow him. Yeah, that's it for another week. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. See you later. Bye.